All right. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Yes. So I know that we're going to talk all today about how and what happens when life does not go the way you expected that it would go, or the way motherhood would go. But before we jump into that, why don't you just share a little bit about you, who you are, and a little bit about your story?
Sure. Well, thanks again for having me. My name
Yeah.
is Tracy Steele, and I am a military spouse. So, my husband, Chad, we've been married for about 13 years now. And he is a pilot in the United States Air Force. And we are about 8 months away from retirement. I
Yay.
mean, this is like a whole new life that's coming for us. We can finally move to where we want to move and do what we want to do for the rest of our lives. And to be honest, we're only in our mid 40s, but to hear the word retirement, it makes us feel like old people. Now that we have just done it. But no, we have two precious kiddos who are just as extroverted as their parents. So Jackson is our new sixth grader, and he is into baseball and just all the boy things. And then we have a little girl, Katie, who is our new fourth grader. And so she is into gymnastics and pretty much pushing every button of her brothers that she can. So yeah, so when we're not moving, I love to just counsel women, encourage women, kind of like a life coach would. And I love college football when it's playing, and baseball as well. So we're a very active family, and we have pretty much traveled, all over the nation. I think we've moved 7 times in 13 years of marriage. So
Yeah.
never dull.
Yeah. And so just to go reframe on that, was that the lifestyle you had expected or anticipated would be?
No, absolutely not, because I did not grow up in a military family. My mom was a school teacher. I'm actually from Kansas. So everybody asked me if I've met Dorothy and Toto and how many tornadoes I've been in. Okay, three, y'all. I've been in 3 tornadoes in my lifetime. But no, and my dad was an accountant. So we knew nothing of military life. We knew nothing of the service. And we basically stayed in Topeka, Kansas the whole time I grew up.
Mhm.
And so marrying into the military has definitely been an adventure and not what I had planned.
Yes. And so as over time in life, and I this is one thing we talked about before, was that there's so much about motherhood that's unexpected, right? Like we think it's going to go one way. We have this dream, we have this vision, we have this idea of like what the perfect marriage, what the perfect home, what the perfect family, like all of that's going to look like. And then it oftentimes doesn't go that way. So, what has kind of been your takeaways in the journey and in the process of kind of just navigating all of these random things that come at your way? And when you think it's going to go one way and it goes the other, and all of that.
Oh, so many things. We could be here all day. But I think the biggest thing, well, let me back up. I think one of the things that has affected my perspective on
Mm.
motherhood, that has affected my perspective on marriage, maybe even given me false expectations of those things,
Mhm.
has been social media.
Yeah.
And there are lots of wonderful things about social media. I love social media. I'm on social media. I love encouraging women via social media. But I've gotten caught in that comparison trap. I've gotten
Mhm.
caught in looking at these filtered images of motherhood, and that's all they are. It's
Yeah.
just filter. It's not reality. And so the biggest thing I always tell people is you have got to, whatever perfection is, it's not real. It's
Mhm.
going to vary between people. There is no perfection. It's going to be what you make of it.
Yeah.
And you can find that contentment within the walls of your home to say, even if I have one piece of furniture, instead of the farmhouse, whatever that we're seeing, that's enough, because
Yeah.
this life isn't about the stuff. It's about the people that we love. It's about the memories that we're making. And those can be perfect in and of themselves. And so
Mhm.
that's what I've had to do. The biggest thing I've had to do is take my eyes off of everybody else, take my eyes off the filters and the rooms that are all staged by people who have people. Because y'all, I don't have people. Okay. I have no people but myself, all right, to do this. And to look at what I do have in front of me, that I finally did. I did not get married until my mid-30s, by the way. And I think that actually was sort of a blessing, because I
Mm.
learned that even as awesome as my husband is and how wonderful marriage we have, he is still just a human, just like I am.
Yeah.
He still has faults, just like I am. And so I've learned not to put my whole thing into his basket, to draw that strength from my faith, or, from other things, that I'm doing, and not just to depend on him or my kids too, because
Mhm.
they're human.
Mhm.
They're perfect. I can't get all that I need even from my kids.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the things that I've learned over the years, is to be content with what I have.
Yeah.
And again, to lean on my faith, or, just other things instead of possessions or the people, because those are fleeting. So.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think that that's where you and I have resonated so much, was that that's what I want to help people with too. And what I do is help them kind of declutter and clear out all of that excess and really focus in on those things that matter the most to them. And like you said, comparison is so hard. And when we see how somebody else is living it and how somebody else is doing it, and we think that that's the measure of perfection. And I like how you said, like, perfection doesn't really exist. Like, everybody has different tastes, different interests, different environments, different situations. And so there is no like cream of the crop, this is the way everybody should be. And I think that even if we think about it, we wouldn't want everybody to be living the exact same way, right? Then there's no diversity and uniqueness and individuality and all of that. So as you've kind of gone through that, like, what are some of those core things that helped you kind of eliminate that comparisonitis or comparison of looking at somebody else and thinking, oh, I should be doing that, or I should be that way, or I whatever. Like, what are those things that, because I think that comparison, even me, like even today, I feel like I preach so much about like finding your core values and finding those things that matter the most to you and being so set and solid on those. But there's still some times where I feel like, I even texted a friend the other day and I said, hey, I saw so-and-so's post, and immediately I felt like, why can't I, kind of an idea. And she responded back and was like, comparing much? And it was just, it's so easy to get caught into that space, if that makes sense. So what have been some of those things that you have used, or with your clients or students or whoever, that have helped kind of step aside from that comparison and kind of get that reality check?
I think the biggest thing is the social media piece. I've had to limit social media. And there
Mm-hmm.
are certain people that are triggers for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone sets out going, hey, who can I get on Facebook today and just really make them mad and make them, nobody does that, right? Like, I think we're all like, look at my beautiful house, or look at my awesome kid that's like perfect and never throws a tantrum, which is not the truth.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what they make it look like. So the biggest thing is I've had to limit social media, and there are just certain people that I have been okay with snoozing for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm hating them in my heart, because listen, when we hate in our heart, that gets us nowhere. That
Yeah.
makes us even more bound up. And we don't have time for that. Okay. We need to be out loving people and using the different gifts that we have, the different ways that we're just wired naturally to make this world a better
Mm-hmm.
place. Because as we're
Mm-hmm.
hearing on the news, there's so much division, and there's so whatever it is
Yeah.
that is triggering you from feeling those things inside, you need to turn it off and cut it off, or whatever that looks like, so that you can find that peace within yourself. So that's the biggest thing I've done, is limit my social media,
Yeah.
maybe unfriend or unfollow or snooze or whatever the people that, again, are just triggering me, or that, we all know who they are, that are out there on purpose trying to divide, right? And because we don't got time for that. So things like that, I'm okay with telling people to do that, because
Yeah.
that restores some sort of peace to you and some sort of mental space.
Yep.
And it's good to deconnect. It's good to, turn things off, and to just give ourselves time to heal if we need to,
Mm-hmm.
time to think, or time to ponder. And I used to be an interior designer at one point. And so I would always tell my clients, listen, not every wall in your house has to be filled with a picture. Not every corner has to have a chair in it, because your brain needs time to rest when it
Yeah.
enters into a physical room, interior room. And so give that room some white space, give that
Mm-hmm.
room some breathing space. And the same is true with our minds and our hearts. When we are bombarded by media and the news and social media, our brain has no time to rest and to pause and to really remember that, what, we have a beautiful house too, just the
Yeah.
way it is. Our kids, they may not be perfect, but they are ours. Our marriage, same thing we were just talking about. So when I turn things off, then I have to start looking at what I do have, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking, wow, you know what? We have so much in this country that the rest of the world does not. And it may
100%.
not be
Yeah.
perfect, but it is ours. And we still have a future. We still have gifts that are going to be, like we just talked about, different than the person that is beside us. And that, I don't know what it is with the world, but we rank people by the way they look, by
Yeah.
the letters that are behind their names. I've got several masters and I feel like I know nothing. I'll be honest with you. I feel like I still have so much to learn. But yet we again look at that and think that that's what it's all about. And that's not
Yeah.
what it's all about. You know,
Yep.
we have different gifts and abilities. And so sometimes I just need to start using them again. And that
Mhm.
again makes me grateful for what I do have when I see that they are actually bringing someone else a smile or bringing someone else peace and joy. That makes me feel so much contentment versus looking at what other people have or wishing that I had what they had. So
Yeah.
turn it off and
Yep.
then look at what you do have and use it, and you will find that joy. You will find that peace again.
I love that. And I feel like there's so much in what you just said. And it's just a highlight on a few things. We recently just remodeled, or not remodeled. I decided, I was like, I need some change. I need something. So we repainted our living room wall. And when I did that, I took everything off of that wall and realized, I was like, we have this weight rack. And I told my husband, I was like, maybe if I sell all of our weights, I can buy just one of those Bowflex ones. And so that it's just like one little weight set rather than the whole weight rack that we have that's cluttering up that whole wall. And I'd realized that because of COVID, weights are in very high demand. They're very expensive. So what would have been maybe a couple $100 to buy one of those Bowflex weights is now like $900. I was like, and maybe we're not doing that right now. So, but still that same idea of like wanting that space, wanting that emptiness. I ended up transforming my fireplace into my weight space because we don't have fires here in San Diego.
Yeah,
So
no.
we tried. It smokes out the entire house. So I was like, rather than just having this fireplace sit here for aesthetic reasons, I'm going to shove all these weights into the fireplace so that that space on my wall looks empty and looks clear. And it, gosh, it has made such a huge difference when I sit in my living room right now. And just that space on that wall and not having stuff lining that whole wall has made such a huge difference. So that was just a side note on that. But I do think, like, you're right, that no matter, because I'm the same boat. I have, multiple credentials behind my name, and I still go to work every day and feel like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't feel like the expert, even though the numbers and the letters behind, or all the not numbers, all the letters behind my name would say differently. That feeling internally, I still don't feel that way. And I think no matter what it is, if you're a professional and have that professional education, or if you're a mom, we are continually sitting there doubting what we're capable of and what those gifts and those skills that we do have. And so, like you said, recognizing those things and being thankful for those things. Like, I have started writing down affirmations every day saying, like, I am a competent, intuitive, like, intelligent therapist. Like, I know I can do this, so that when I go to work, I personify that. And then the same thing, like, I'm a peaceful, patient, present mom, because so many times we're telling ourselves the other stories. So what other, like, in that sense too, like, if a mom is sitting there feeling like every day she wakes up super incompetent about motherhood, like, and that shame that we carry so many times, or that guilt that we carry as moms, what would you say to her, that person that's feeling that?
I would say do not give up, because here's the thing. My mom was not a perfect mom. And I would
Yeah.
like to believe that I've turned out okay. I've turned out, pretty good compared to the fact I didn't have a perfect mom. And listen,
Yeah.
some of the greatest teachers, things that are going to teach us, things that are going to grow us, things that are going to stretch us the most are our failures,
Mm-hmm.
are the times we messed up,
Yep.
are the times where we've had to ask for forgiveness, or that's what we are learning. And as think from a mom's perspective, we don't stop loving our kids when they
Yeah.
have a bad day. We're more endeared to them. And I think our kids need to see, again, in a world that is filtered, in a world that is Hollywoodized, that, you know what, their moms are human too. And they're going
Mm-hmm.
to learn from our mistakes as well. And if we are showing them grace in their mistakes, guess what? They're probably more likely to show us grace
Yeah.
when they are making mistakes, especially as they get older. I've worked a lot with youth as well. And what I can tell you guys is youth doesn't want the Hollywood professional, whatever. They want real. They want authentic. That's why so many back in the day were drawn to reality TV shows, because it was like, wow, they're doing the same junk I'm doing. None of us have it together. So if we want to be effective moms, sometimes we're going to need to let our kids, again, depending on their ages and stuff like that, they need to see our bad days, to see that we're human and that we need grace, and we're going to extend them grace, and we need help and they're going to need help, And so don't be afraid of failure. It might just be what you need to redirect yourself again, and rejection isn't the end of the world. Other people do not define, other people's opinions of us do not define who we are, by those that really love us. And if we want to be that safe place for our kids, showing them that they can do whatever and we're still going to love them, that they're going to learn how to do that back for us. And so I know it's scary. Believe me, I have y'all, again, if we had another whole podcast, I would just sit through all the failures and the mess ups, from like burning popcorn to, I tried to make fruit roll-ups from scratch, and that was a disaster. It was like something you could cut glass with instead of the fruity roll-ups, people. Like, I just have so many fails, but you know what? My kids are fine. And now in 6th and 4th grade, my man still loves me. God bless him. He's stayed in this marriage despite all of these things that I have tried. And at the end of the day, they're really funny now. So we can go back and look at all of these things that I've done in motherhood and be like, wow, that was epic, but my kids got to see a real human being trying to do the best that she can. And that's, y'all, give yourself grace. We're all doing, especially right now in the middle of COVID, we're all doing the best that we can with what we have. Nobody could prep you for this in college. Nobody could prep you for what we're living through right now in high school. But if we're breathing and everyone's somewhat smiling, we're doing okay. So give yourself that grace.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really valuable, even like just teaching our kids, like, just recently, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, my daughter was like, with my other daughter, said, hey, sister, drink this. And I was like, what is that? And she wouldn't answer. It was like this pink, like clear liquid. And I was like, what is that? And she wouldn't respond until my younger one drank it. And then she goes, it's makeup. And I was like, oh my gosh, honey. I was like, that's really bad. Like, who knows what's in that makeup and what it's going to do to her body? Like, you don't encourage people to drink something. And then she got so upset because she felt like she had hurt her sister. And like, she was like, I don't want my sister to die, like all this stuff. So, but we had the same conversation that we're having right now, in terms of, like, I told her, I was like, I fail all the time and I mess up all the time. And sometimes even failing is good, because that means it gives us that opportunity to learn, and that opportunity to try again the next day, and to try again. And now, oops, we're not going to make that same mistake again. But even if we do, we're just learning over and over again. And I think that's one of, I don't know, I think for me, that's been one of the most powerful lessons that I have learned in the last like 3 or 4 years, is that the more times I fail, the more times I'm learning. And so rather than looking at those times where I totally screwed up as they're like, okay, well, what can I take from this and move forward with? And yes, I yelled and screamed at my kids today, but how can I tomorrow do something different? Can I set the day up differently? Can we go on a walk, or can we, whatever, what can we do so that doesn't happen again? How can I give myself a little bit more grace, or whatever? And I think it's just really powerful when we start to transform those failures into learning opportunities.
And realize that they're going to also help us be more empathetic again to those who are also not perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we all, and that's what I see. That's a big problem I'm seeing, in our country and on social media. We have no more grace.
Yeah.
We're assuming because we differ on views, or
I know.
and the other person has to be this or that. No. Like, I need grace. We need to show one another grace. And so when I think you had asked me too, what is one thing I tell myself? And I may not have, again, the looks or the money, or, again, another title or some big position in the government. What I do have is love. And what this world needs is love. And I think all of you listening have love to give, even if it's an imperfect attempt. We want to change the world. We just need just need to love. I know it sounds very cliche and
I
very
know.
Hallmark cardish, but I really think that that's the truth.
Yeah.
Just love that. If you can remember that, then you have a purpose, no matter how many mistakes you make, no matter, again, if we yelled at our kids in the morning, tomorrow is a new day for all of us.
Yeah.
And we all get chances again to try and love the
Yeah.
best.
100%. And even not just tomorrow's a new day. I had a call with one of my clients this morning and I said, you have the opportunity at any point in your day to reset your day. So if you're feeling like the morning went to crap and you're not sure what to do, like you don't have to keep going down that path. Like you can. So for her, we talked about like a certain point in her day where she was walking to school to pick up her other ones. I was like, make that your intentional reset time. Like every single day when you're walking to school to pick her up from school, that is your moment to reset so that when she comes home, you are at your prime and top shape, like before she comes home. And, I've had that happen to me too, where your morning just spirals out of control and you feel like, gosh, I don't know. But I love that concept of like, you can change the direction of the day at any point in time, but it's just about intention and choosing that love, like choosing, how can I love myself? How can I love those people around me? And just to give myself a do-over right now.
And do you ever struggle with this too? Because maybe some of your listening could agree with me on this. That sometimes maybe it's a woman thing. I like to think of like all of the plans and dream up like 90 different plans for one thing. And I'm not in the moment. I'm thinking out here like, well, what if this happens? And what if they say this? And what if this goes over here? And this person does this? And of course, like 90% of that never happens.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you struggle with that too. Like sometimes I have to tell myself, listen, just stay in the moment, stay present. Don't be, out here in the assumptions, right?
Yes. 100%. There's like so much, and I don't know, maybe it is a male female thing. Cause I'll have conversations with my husband. I'm like rattling off and he's just, And then later I'm like, gosh, I get so frustrated. I wish we could just have a conversation. He's like, we did have a conversation. Like, no, you just sat there and listened to all of my like spewing and ideas. He goes, well, I said 2 or 3 sentences. Those were my thoughts. I was like, oh, we're just totally different.
It's like, I was thinking about nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
I've never not thought about nothing.
I don't know how you do that.
I don't know. That's a gift right there. Let me tell you.
Oh, men. But yes. And then I think that's just powerful to look at like why we need each other, right? Like why we need different people and different people with different skills and uniqueness and different ways of tapping into things that they just help bring us along. But, and I was like thinking, there was something earlier you said, and I can't remember, about social media, like circling back, you just triggered another thought. Was that phrase that we become like the 5 people we spend the most amount of time with. And so I have found that so true in particular to social media as well, that the 5 people that I'm watching or following or listening to on social media are going to have the biggest impact in my sphere of my feelings and my day and whatever. And so being really wise and intentional about who those people are, like not just letting every friend, like you said, snooze the people that maybe are triggering you or where they're pulling you down or you're not feeling so great when you see their stuff or whatever. And really just making sure that those people that you're surrounding yourself with on social media are those people that are taking you to that next level, or they're helping encourage you or helping bringing you up or something of that nature, taking you to that place where you want to be and not pulling you back into something where you feel crappy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I pray and I hope too that everyone's listening has some in people, community people that are doing that same thing, because social media is great. I've connected with women all over the nation, as I know you have, even the world, through it. But sometimes we need a physical hug. Yeah. And I know, again, right now in COVID, hopefully that will someday end where we can be more in person with people. But when that day comes, I hope that we won't take those in people connections for granted ever again. Yeah. That we will take more time to sit on porches and talk face to face, because there's so much that is lost in communication online. We don't know if they're joking, if they're yelling at us because we see all caps in their post, or what's going on. And there's something that's so sweet with relationships that happen in person with one another.
Yep. For sure. Okay, as we get close to the end now, I know we could probably keep talking, but where can people find you if they want to connect with you online?
Absolutely. TracyMSteele.com. So that is my new website. We just redesigned it. So it's really fun. Got lots of new bells and whistles on there. And I pray that if you guys connect with me at TracyMSteele.com, that you would just be encouraged just by the stories and things that I share there. I'm also on social media at Tracy M. Steele, whether that's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. So would love to connect with you all.
Awesome. I love it. And so before we close out, is there any last little thing that you want to leave people with?
No, I mean, again, I think this year, 2020, it's been an interesting one, folks.
Yes.
But allow yourself to feel the things.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, especially if you're a mom and you've got ones that are still underneath your roof out there, I think sometimes our tendency is to stuff and try to be super mom. But again, kids of any age right now, I think are dealing with so many emotions and so many things, because life for all of us isn't going the way that we thought it was going to go. Like, why did I even buy a planner for 2020? Right? I don't know. But you know what? They're going to have hard days. Allow yourself to have hard days, but don't stay there forever. Get back out, because all of us still have a future. We still have gifts, all the things that we've just talked about in our time together. Like, your life matters and this world needs you. And so no matter what happens on that calendar, just you live out that purpose the best that you can, give yourself grace, laugh a lot, and have a blast, because we have been given much. And so I pray that you all enjoy that.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And I couldn't agree more. I think it was wonderful. And I hope that every person listening is walking away with just some grace. I think that probably is a good word to encapsulate all of what we talked about today. So thank you so much, Tracy, for hopping on.
Thank you for having me.